When guys look at women, they fall immediately into two camps. Some guys prefer nice smiles, and others prefer glorious personalities. What do you think I was going to say? On guns, I think there are two camps as well. Guys who only think about how nice a trigger is to dry fire, and the more sophisticated intellectuals who understand that grip is everything. Yes, if you're a trigger snob, I basically just said your bad shooting has nothing to do with the quality of the trigger. Welcome back to the Humble Marksman channel. I'm David, and this is the Kimber R7 Carbon Compact. Now, I want to talk about this gun a little bit, but I want to start with kind of a story on why I'm reviewing this gun. So back at SHOT Show earlier this year at the range day, I was able to shoot the old R7, the TFS with the kind of the upgraded grip texture and optics ready and all that kind of stuff. And it had a much shorter grip and it had a shorter slide. And generally speaking, I don't like compact guns that don't have about a 4-inch barrel and don't have about a 15 round grip. It's just they're too small at that point. They're usually pretty snappy. Fast forward to now, having shared that feedback with them at SHOT Show, that I was surprised that it shot well. They're like, hey, look at this. We got a new one that's, it's got all the stuff you like on it. And I was like, well, I guess I'll have to take a look at it then. So this was provided to me by the folks at Kimber to review for you guys. There's no financial relationship between myself and Kimber, and I'm not trying to influence you to do anything other than to invest time in developing your skills, whether it be shooting or something else in life, and get mastery. You cannot buy skill with gear, so put the time in and get good. And before we dive any deeper, I do want to offer the dads in the audience this crisp high five and challenge you with this. You ever wonder what causes dry skin? A towel. So immediately this gun is going to be challenged by the people who want to look at a gun and have it look like more or less like a prettier version of all of the other guns. And this does have kind of a unique feature to it where the dust cover drops lower than the grip tang, and it has this ejection port that only opens up on the right side of the pistol. It's not on the top of the gun. It kind of has blocky aesthetics. There's just kind of not a lot going on with drama as far as the slide is concerned. It's just pretty basic. And then the grip looks all sort of like high tech, high speed, kind of tactical, but guys, it's all good stuff on the grip. It's actually probably the best gun grip in this segment, and I'm not blowing smoke. We'll get there. And I'm telling you, if you were to pick this gun up and shoot it, you would see exactly what I mean, because this gun is mega controllable. I was honestly impressed. So where this gun differs from kind of the traditional R7 Mako type guns is that the contouring of the grip is a little bit different. It has this double undercut with this texturized finish at the bottom of the trigger guard, and that texture is also on the front of the trigger guard. There's these ledges kind of baked into it right there. And what it does share with the other R7 guns is that there is a palm swell on the side of the frame, because the magwell, I can't really show it to you in profile, but there is a hump that kind of goes across the side of it there, and that's very important for a couple reasons. You know, when you shoot a rifle and like your left arm and your right shoulder kind of do all the work for stabilizing the gun, and your right hand just turns into something to kind of operate the controls with? The way this grip is set up kind of does that exactly. If you build your grip by putting your thumb on this little ledge, then wrapping your hands around your gun, and then kind of catching the back of the grip with your palm, because the texture is kind of this like medium fissured texture that doesn't feel too aggressive when you rub your hand across it, but when you press into it, the grooves are so big that your skin kind of sinks down. What ends up happening is that your left hand is completely unified with the pistol, and as a result, all the rotation of the slide reciprocating and the rotation that causes is largely mitigated by your support hand, because it has such a good weld on the pistol. And the results for that is good, because if you are, planted on the gun, that means that your terrible trigger pulls are not going to cause the muzzle to yaw one way or another. So by having a superior grip, you get better results from the trigger. It's observable in rapid fire, but it's also observable in slow fire because the gun was plenty accurate. And that's one thing that I actually really admire about this grip, is because of the location of the shelf and kind of this hump right here, and the fact that the traction makes its way all the way up to the back of the frame there. It kind of intuits gripping the gun correctly, which other guns like Glocks or any of the guns that have those stupid thumb scoop sort of like ledges there that kind of encourage you to create an air gap behind the grip tang and push all your shots to the left, those promote bad technique. This grip actually promotes good technique, which is something I love to see. A gun should just kind of inform you how it wants to be held based on the shape of the grip, and this gun does that very well. And another feature that is something that I kind of didn't realize that I liked, but I absolutely do, is if you look at the relationship between the grip tang and the undercut under the trigger guard is that it allows my knuckle to get, wrapped largely around it, so my knuckle lands immediately under the trigger guard, where my grip is mostly closed, but there's still enough space along the back of the gun for me to get my palm on the gun to contribute to recoil management. Some other features that I appreciate about the gun is it does have co-witness night sights. Those are true 3-lamp night sights that they have there with Holosun K-cut or RMSC footprint on the sight. And one thing that I never ever would have thought that I appreciated, by not having the barrel exposed to the top of the slide, it means the optic gets zero gun smoke on it when you shoot it. I have not cleaned this optic lens at all, and it is absolutely gorgeous still. In the age of guns that we put optics on, can't believe we never thought to do that, because it absolutely keeps the optic pristinely clear, which is, not a mega deal, but when I realized that's what it was doing, I really liked it. The trigger on the gun is a flat blade trigger, and you can see that there's just a little bit of take up to depress the safety. Then you got kind of a spongy false wall before you have like a soft wall, and then you're on the wall right there after the false wall pulls through, and then it is just a very short release. And the reset is a little bit long, but it's a very shootable trigger. It's generally pretty clean because that little bit of squish on the false wall is very kind of predictable. It feels almost like a rolling brake the way it's set up. So it is a very shootable trigger, and it is weighted, something that would be appropriate for concealed carry. We don't do trigger weights on YouTube anymore because YouTube is weird. Now, rounding out kind of the features on the gun is the kind of the price point. This is the top of the line model, which would be the TFS OI. That TFS means it has a threaded barrel. OI means optic installed, which means that this Holosun 407K, which is an excellent concealed carry sight, comes mounted on the pistol. You still gotta zero it. They don't zero it for you. But as you see it optioned here, it will sell for about $1,080 is full MSRP. I imagine that some of the discounting sites will have it for something less than that. If you don't want the optic on there, then the price drops to about $800, which for the features that this gun has, is pretty good. If you decide you don't want the threaded barrel, then the prices drop by another $85. The optic installed version would be about $995 with the optic and no threaded barrel, and it would be about $735 with no threaded barrel, no optic. Still optic ready, just not installed. Now, reliability out of the gun was excellent. Now, I like to test reliability by, number one, feeding it at least 200 rounds of ammo, and then making sure that it can cycle, a wide variety of hollow points. So I picked two more extreme loadings. I had a 135 grain critical duty plus P, and I had a 115 grain critical defense light, which is a light recoiling load and will choke a lot of guns. And I'm happy to report that this gun can cycle both of them. Tried a couple different loadings of range loads, tried the Winchester, tried some MagTech, tried Buffalo Creek 115s. Buffalo Creek did sponsor some ammo for the video, so I thank them for that. And also, if you were to check out the pinned comment on this video, I might be able to help you out with some ways to save money. The aftermarket for the R7 is pretty robust, but the R7 carbon carry, which has a longer dust cover and a longer grip frame, it's just not there yet. So the holster market, I did some Googling and I couldn't find any holsters that were specifically made for this gun. I am assured that they are in development, so they'll be hitting the market very soon. So to give you an idea about kind of how big the gun is, I grabbed my P365 Fuse and my P365 AXG Legion. Now the P365 Fuse has one of the better grip frames in this segment with an excellent texture on it. However, it doesn't have a palm swell and the texture stops at the top of the grip. The P365 AXG Legion, which is $1,200 without an optic, does have grips that run all the way up underneath the controls, kind of like the R7 does. It has a little bit more heft with that aluminum frame and the option for grips, but again, it's a gun that costs, 30 to 40% more. But the size on the R7 carbon carry is roughly the same as the P365 macro. It actually is a pretty good analog for it. And one thing that the lefties will be happy to hear about the pistol is that it is full ambi. That's right, I am depressing the mag catch on the right side of the pistol, and you've got a slide release on your side of the gun. Now, there are some negatives that are going to come with the pistol because no pistol is perfect, and they're all pretty minor gripes in fairness. Now, the first thing is that I do think that the trigger shoe should be a curved trigger shoe and not flat. The trigger reach is a little bit long, so I feel like people with small hands will have a hard time getting the tip of their finger to the trigger with the trigger reach, just with how far forward that it sits. And I know that to be true because I was at a media event where some women were shooting the gun and they had to use the smaller back straps because it's got interchangeable back straps because the trigger reach was a bit long for them. So I think a curved trigger could help move that trigger reach back to the back and make it a little bit nicer. Next most minor thing is going to be that the front serrations they start really low on the slide, so you really kind of have to reach down to be able to manipulate them from the front of the gun. I'd love to see that texture carried up further on the slide with a little more bite. Moving on from there, if you have a fully loaded magazine, the mag well is just a little bit too tall, or the base pad on the mags are just a little bit too short because the base pads sit, nearly just under flush on the gun, and the little cutouts on the side aren't enough to strip the mag if it were to bind in the gun. Not a huge deal, but there is that deal. And speaking of mags, the magazines are kind of expensive at 50 bucks. They're Kimber proprietary mags, 15 rounders. It comes with 2 of them and a very handsome range bag, but mags are 50 bucks. But I feel like that's kind of the going rate for mags on new guns these days. It feels like everybody's charging 40 to 50 bucks. Even 1911 magazines, which in my mind should cost like 20 bucks, are selling for like 40 bucks. So I don't love it, guys. It's just the world we live in. And I guess one more negative I can throw in is that there is not an O-ring that comes with the thread protector to keep the thread protector from walking off while you shoot. It's a very cheap fix to just get an O-ring and put it on there yourself, but it'd be nice if it came with one from the factory. So yeah, I was not expecting to be as impressed with this little pistol as I am. I would say for a non-compensated carry gun, that just how good the grip is on this pistol gives it a serious consideration. And I feel like because of the aesthetics, a lot of people are going to look at this like the PX4 from Beretta, which is honestly one of the best compacts you can carry. And this gun's probably going to get lumped in with the PX4 just because it has kind of non-traditional aesthetics, and a lot of people are going for kind of the aesthetic look. But I mean, this gun has amazing performance for what it is, which is being a skinny carry gun that is super lightweight. It shoots really well. So if you're looking for serious performance, I would say the R7CC is a serious performer. Like, I really am impressed with it. I think I'm probably going to continue to shoot it to see if maybe it will take over my skinny carry gun slot. I don't know yet, but we'll see. Don't have a holster yet, so can't really get serious about it. Another gun that Kimber makes that you probably haven't considered, but probably should give a second look to, is the Kimber KDS-9C rail, and you can watch a video on that here.